Looking back to 2018, the climate for state ballot measures was really challenging. There were a lot of issues that needed to be addressed where the legislature wouldn't take action and we knew we had to go to the ballot, but raising the resources and being able to build strong, sustainable campaigns was hard.
In 2018, we were facing 2 years into a presidential administration that kept throwing firebomb after firebomb, and our communities felt very much attacked.
Climate for ballot initiatives in 2018, I think, was a hostile one, right? I think we were changing slowly, but it was still a pay to play. It was still about how much money you have bringing to the table, what's the polling like, and that was really the determination on whether or not you could go or not.
In 2018, the climate for statewide ballot measures was a bit different from the way it is now. It has been a really political tool, often disconnected with communities and the people that are trying to affect the change. But it was also a really big opportunity in that year. It was the first major election after the 2016 election. And it was part of the beginnings of the imagination that BISC was doing to really go proactive, to put the vision that we had, that our partners had, directly on the ballot.
In 2018, we saw a massive shift, not only to use the ballot initiative process for new issues, but we saw it as a vehicle to do proactive work. And the people who are putting proactive work on there look more like me.
BISC was able to dream of that possibility with us, that those type of campaigns are a reality, especially when communities and organizations that are most impacted are leading and are at the center of crafting a policy that is responsive to our people.
And I think one of the biggest examples of that was Amendment 4, the rights restoration ballot measure in Florida, that really, I think, was one of the clearest examples of building a ballot measure effort from the communities most directly impacted. Desmond Meade, who happens to be a BISC board member, he led that campaign with returning citizens.
I think a lot has changed at BISC over the last 5 years. In particular, I would say that the growing redefinition of the win beyond just 50% plus one to include whether we've built capacity and leadership in the communities kept furthest from our democracy at the end of a ballot measure.
The shifts include centering people of color, women, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and queer folks, gender expansive and non-binary folks, and investing resources in organizations and coalitions in states that often get ignored.
Walking into a space now where you feel welcomed, you feel heard, you feel appreciated, whereas in the past, it was hard. It was hard because you didn't know if you were the expert in your own life, which seems ridiculous to say, but you had all of these experts telling you exactly what it took to have a successful ballot initiative, to have a successful program, what the politics were, telling you what the politics are in your state.
BISC has done some really exciting work in changing how we think about partnership and how we think about wins. And so the Declaration of Equity and really focusing on what it means to be in partnership with one another and what it means to build sustainable campaigns beyond Election Day, beyond win or lose come the vote. How do we make sure we're building stronger infrastructure so that we can defend our wins, build towards the next win, and be more powerful in the long term?
Experience with out-of-state partners would be, they came in, they would throw their money around, they would throw their weight around, and BISC really gave us the tools to reimagine how we could run our own campaign ourselves and how we could leverage our own power and trust in our own power.
The concern is that the political tenor of our country right now may be causing some funders to pull back and protect themselves rather than taking on a little more risk for the field. And if funders aren't taking on that risk falls to communities and organizations with less positional power.
So my hope for direct democracy in my state is a slate of ballot initiatives that tell a story about what kind of future we want. We want so many things, and we all are talking from our silos, knowing in our hearts what it means to accomplish all of those things. But I want to be able to tell a story about the breadth and depth of the progressive movement, but also the potential of the state of Michigan.
And my hope is that ballot measures are no longer forgotten. They're often an afterthought of the many tools we have in our toolbox to build power, and I want to be clear, independent political power, because I actually believe if we listen to the people and we follow the route and the path that ballot measures have been doing, we have the ability to create a new progressive base. One that actually galvanizes people, that makes them feel reflected and seen and heard in our democracy in ways that they haven't in the past.